time at
I'm with you.
7 o'clock.
Jenny and I used to like ride in the snow.
This, do I hit, I'll go that first. This is the April 2nd, 2019 meeting of the Parks Advisory Committee, and we'll start with a roll call. And Michelle, I'm going to start at your end because I'm going to end with Richard and ask you to introduce yourself a little bit more than, actually, we can give it like a line or two for ourselves since this is Richard's first one too.
Okay. I'm Michelle Dragony, and I got into this because Brian Overfelt was the member here, and he was representing the families and skating and stuff like that. And he got too busy, so I'm representing for the families and skating and fun activities.
My name's Paul Telsch. I have 2 kids. I live locally, obviously, and I'm in it for the kids and having opportunities for them locally without having to go too far.
I'm Fran Pollard. Been in Granada over 45 years. Helped create some of the parks here, and like being on the park committee.
I'm Patrick Tierney. I have been involved with the district since its conversion to a community service district, and I have 2 grown children and live in Miramar.
Thank you. I'm Nancy Marsh. I live in El Granada. I've lived here for about 3.5 years. Recently retired before that, and I joined the Parks Committee, probably more for the parks and beautification because my kids are in their late 20s and neither one is local. So I'm a parks person more than a recreation person.
Susanna Cantrell. I've been in El Granada for about 3 years, maybe 4 now, can't remember. The second year on this committee, and I joined because I want to see more diverse opportunities for recreation in the area. My kids are grown as well, but my grandkids come here frequently, and it's nice to be able to take them to Quarry Park and do other things. So.
Right on. Howdy, everyone. I'm Richard Barker. I'm the new guy. Introduce myself, say a little bit. I have 2 children who are 4th generation born El Granadas.
Wow.
Yeah. Been here a while. Family's scattered around El Granada. I do a lot of outdoor activities myself, but I also enjoy hiking with the elderly people in my family, who some are less able than others, so we enjoy representing all skill levels and abilities. We have a few mentally handicapped in my family as well, so I like to represent activities that are available for all people, not just able bodies such as myself or my children.
Great.
So, yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, your first meeting.
I have a question of clarification. All 4 generations were born here in El Granada?
Yep.
Wow.
Their grandparents, their great-grandparents went to school here.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes.
This is some of the original, probably 1940-ish builds.
Yes.
Yeah, of houses.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, follow this in order. We're going to start with public comments that are not related to the agenda. So we have one request to comment from Jean, and I'll just remind everybody that we are not that picky on time on a day like today when there's not many people here. But typically it'll be 3 minutes, and we're not allowed to discuss the items that are not on our agenda, but we can answer a question. But welcome, Jean.
This is regarding an item that I know is on hold now, but I wanted to mention it because, like many others that I know, I attended my first meeting last week, and I think we need to give you more support because I think you're hearing a lot of no's in a lot of things that you want to do. And the one thing that was disappointing to me and others was the putting on hold of the play part. And so I want to let you know that you will have my support and the support of others, friends of mine in the community, going forward when that comes back up again. When in discussing this, issues about, what would be the best thing to do, and at the last meeting, I personally loved hearing about the trails and the hiking and that because that appeals to me. But what our community needs are areas for children. Mm-hmm. To hear the sound of children laughing. We can walk out our front doors and we are in a beautiful place. You know, having trails, which is appealing to somebody like me, I don't actually need it. I walk down here from my house, and I had a beautiful walk. So the real need, I think, is for the children. And in particular, another aspect, a group that I'm heavily involved with is supporting immigrants in the Half Moon Bay area. And so I work with Puente and Alice and Coastside Hope. And we have two separate communities really now. We have the Latino community and the Anglo community. And if we could have play areas where parents would come together, that would help join those communities. And that's really critical now because they are under incredible duress right now, not only from the immigration issues, but from the affordability housing issues. So it might be a help and a support for them. And the other thing, which actually is on the agenda, but if I could slip it in, it doesn't require, is that somebody asked about the Burnham Strip a few weeks ago. They said, what do you think? And I said, it should be something beautiful. But then when I got home, I was like, no, you know, that wasn't no. I was like, you know, wouldn't it be cool to do what Burnham actually envisioned? I mean, it's like the Flatiron Building of city planning. As far as I know some of you are more familiar with this than I am, but this is, El Granada is the only plan that Burnham did. And if I think you should go for it. You know, it would have a community space because he had that casino, which isn't a villa casino, it's a community space, which people have, you know, would like. I mean, in the surveys, many people have said they wanted a community space. And I think you should go for Burnham's plan. Who else? Who better, you know, to follow the example than Daniel Burnham? So.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Okay, no other general comments? Then we'll move into agenda. And probably the biggest thing we'll do tonight is reviewing the status of the summer recreation programs, because we are moments or days away from publicizing our guide. So we need to make sure we're actually ready to deliver all of these guys. One of the things that Pat reminded me of is because it takes a long time to get, and a lot of discussion and a lot of planning to get parks, the recreation programs right now are the one tangible thing in the 3.5 years since Measure G passed that we do that the community can see. So I'm really excited that we ended up with 22 events for this summer, and some free and some not free, but a lot more active recreation and not just the hikes. Not that actually I love the hikes too, so I like the hikes too. So what I want to do is just because it's our one visible thing, I just want to use this list and just walk through and do a check step on the preparation and make sure that we've got contracts and all that sort of stuff. There was a discussion at the board meeting a couple weeks ago. We ran into a snag on the fingerprinting, because in order to receive the fingerprints from people who are fingerprinted, we have to register with the state DOJ, which is a pretty rigorous process and requires a record keeper and special attention to how we keep those records since they're personally identifiable information. So Delia has that all in the works, but with the discussion with the lawyer, we agreed that for those programs where we are requiring adults to be there with kids, we can forego that. And so we only then have 3 programs that are that we need to require the whole fingerprinting thing for. The Kids Learn to Surf Camp with Mavericks, the Teen Girls Introduction to Sailing, and the Learn to Sail Camp for Youth. Pat negotiated to move the date for the teen girls to mid-July, so we don't have any of those programs that need fingerprints until mid-July. So the last few weeks we were doing a bit of juggling on the schedule. So we are good to mid-July, and so at this point we're going to take the risk of publishing the programs. And if we don't get that all settled, we may have to cancel, but that gives not us, Delia, 3 months to working with legal to sort that out. So we'll get to when you're working with the vendors for those, how to communicate that. So everything else is a go. I think the only things we pulled off were the adult mountain biking group, because Susanna got a new job,
Excuse me, Madam
so they're gonna have to.
I'm sorry,
do it
I
on
hate
their
to
own.
interrupt you, but
Yep.
we skipped a couple of agenda items.
Oh,
and
which
I
I
just want
did.
to mention that, which is fine, you can reorder them. I just wanted to make note of that.
Thank you. Okay, well, let me just do one quickly.
Sure.
One was to report on the selection process and appointment of our new committee member. So we introduced Richard. And the second is to approve the February 4th meeting minutes. Delia, we do have one correction.
No.
We corrected it but didn't correct it correctly.
No, it was the wrong.
Oh, it's the next one.
correct. She thought we were doing December minutes and not February minutes.
Oh,
it is
okay, so it's
corrected
okay,
and
Fran?
correct. Yeah.
Okay. So any other concerns or questions on the minutes? I should follow the little script I wrote for myself. So we have a motion to approve the February minutes.
I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Pat moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Fran seconds. And votes, we have to vote on that one, right?
Yes.
Ayes, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 7-0. Okay, so let's go then to the list. One of the things we discussed on Friday, Pat and I had a meeting with Directors Di and Seaton, who are the communications members of the board, to go over the communications you see tonight and a few other things. A few bits of housekeeping. We would love to have photos from each event. We had agreed with the communications guys, we would do a paper newsletter at this time of year when we have the guide, so that we get that out actually into all 2,600 homes, and otherwise do e-newsletters like we did last fall. So if you are at an event and I am not there with my trusty camera, please take a photo so that we have it for a fall newsletter. Delia, we need you and Genevieve to be tracking the registrations once those are open. And then keep in contact with the instructors on the numbers and make sure that the instructors have extra waivers. Last year, nobody printed out the waivers and brought them. So I think either the instructor or I brought them to each thing.
Can we talk about that tomorrow before we talk to the website?
Yeah.
You guys, okay, great.
About, how we manage that.
Just, real quickly, as an example, Delia, we want to avoid a situation where, say for instance, the Learn to Sail camp, they're booking the same date and same program, and we don't want to all of a sudden book people when it's already full. So we'll need to be really diligent, at least weekly, if not twice a week, for at least the Learn to Sail camp
Okay,
and also the Heal camp.
okay, I'll make sure we do it like one specific day each week and maybe check it one of the.
That'd be great.
The Heal Camp, they're gonna book directly on the Heal Camp
Okay,
website,
so that is-
so we don't have to track
Okay.
it. But let me, okay, let's,
One thing I just want to mention is that we do need to get the links all set up on the website, and we'll have a little bit better idea tomorrow when we talk to the people who are going to be doing the work for us, how quickly they can have that ready. And then, of course, once we get the newsletter published, we'll have all of our procedures in place to look up and do what we have to do. So
Yeah.
it may be a little bit of a learning curve, but we'll get, it's not that much.
the registration websites are all set, and I rechecked the last bits of data, so they're just ready to turn on.
Okay.
So as soon as we mail, we can turn them on.
Sounds good.
From a typographic point of view, if you could turn the orange adult program, family programs, and youth programs into all caps, you will have a slightly differentiated profile for the typesetting that will make people see the subheadings more clearly.
Yes, thank you.
I still think if you put a QR code in the top corner right here on the right, and just, you can scrunch the text just a little bit. QR code takes about a quarter of an inch of space, and if you put some text around it that said, for updates, for new events, something along those lines, because if you constrain yourself to text, you're constrained. But if you have if you start training people on your phone, just on your camera, you can use a QR code now. You don't need a QR code app anymore. So it's much easier for an older person to use their camera to go to a website than it is to type it in accurately. So as a parent of a 20-year-old, we need to accommodate the youth. The older people may not have any idea how to use their phone or a QR code, but the younger 20, 30 people will.
Okay, I'll see if she can fit it in. She should be able to fit it in right where you said, with just a direct link.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop resisting, Michelle.
Thank you.
I don't use my phone for them because I can't see the letters on my phone.
That's why the QR
I
code
need
is
my
so
big
great.
monitor. Okay, let me start down the list just to do a double check on are we prepped and ready. So on the Rosen movement,
Signed and sealed and ready to be delivered.
all docs done?
Mhm.
Okay.
Are you sending the paperwork to me on?
They haven't sent it to you, okay.
Yeah, I need to have the agreement and there's a couple other documents. I don't have the checklist and stuff that we do. I have not received anything from any of the.
So you haven't received anything from anybody?
No, except for Michelle.
Except for me.
All right.
Okay. On the Rosen movement, my one question was, will someone be here to collect the fees? Because it's a drop-in
They do
$5
that.
fee.
The
instructors do?
that.
And it goes
It
directly
goes
to?
directly to them,
Okay,
and the district isn't involved in the money.
great. Okay, so that's ready. Michelle, on the CPR,
I got all my paperwork in, if I pass the test. I got my stuff in, she'll figure it out. I'm
and you're
ready
gonna,
to go.
and you're the instructor, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna teach at my Coastside Bus Studios. I have a nice 600 square foot space that I teach for state out of.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all ready, and they can register and pay online for that? That's all
Does
set
everybody
up?
have their first aid in this room right here? I don't know.
Yep.
First aid.
Is that
CPR,
adult, is that
AED.
adult-only
I
CPR
do
or is that
adult.
infant?
I can teach from 8 years old and up.
No, this class here, does it teach adult CPR?
Yes.
What about infant or?
I do like a introductory sort of for infants, but that's a whole 8-hour course.
Correct.
But I give like teenagers who are babysitting,
Yeah.
just enough information to understand how the concepts work.
Cool.
But not the certification for that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a different cert.
How to save a baby for a
Okay.
small child.
Brought that video back to me. Okay, on the history walk, Gail is all set, it's free. I'm the backup if she can't do it, so I've boned up on my El Granada Ocean Shore history. And actually, tomorrow I'm going to an Ohlone Indians training program, actually for the Rangers for a few hours in the morning, so
Where's that?
I might go. And it's, County Parks is putting it on for the Rangers, and they invited the FMR docents. And my husband's one of those, so I sent it in and said, can I come too from Parks? And they said, you
I
have the
wish
last
they would
one.
record that. It would be great for my Happy Bay History Association
Yeah.
website.
Is that
Yeah,
at
I'll
Sawyer
see.
Camp?
Hmm?
Is that at Sawyer Camp?
It's, no, it's in Pacifica at
Sanchez Art?
San-
Sanchez?
the San Pedro Parks, what, San Pedro Park. Barbara Dye is going, and I know she's on the Board of History Association, so. Get that. So that one is all set to go, and we have a registration site for it. I will collect waivers at it, but we don't need a contract for it since it's free. The skateboard camp, they gave us 4 different dates, and they're registering straight on the HMB
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec website, so we didn't really need anything different. But Pat, did you do a contract with him on the split fee?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I know Eddie was prepared to split fees, but there's not really a way to track how many come from Peter First is there, but he didn't seem that worried about that.
It's not going against the word.
Okay. So no paperwork needed? And next one, movies in the park is also passed through. Yes, SMC Parks does a movie in Quarry Park every summer, and we're just advertising it since it's a family event. They haven't decided the movie yet, but So they don't have their website set up yet, so we'll have to add that later. Tot lot jumpers. This is the one thing that we actually are delivering directly without somebody else, so we need volunteers for this. Michelle, my understanding is that they will drop off and set up the equipment,
Yes,
but we will need someone to collect the drop-in fee
sure, I can do that.
and monitor and just make sure they don't blow away. Do you need
Yeah.
help? Would you like someone else there with you?
I'm fine, I got it on my calendar, I'm happy to do that. I just need to work with Delia to actually hire the people and pay for them.
The tot lot people?
Look at them tomorrow.
Okay, well.
You know, we might,
Yeah.
Michelle, we might consider, going above and beyond in terms of safety, since this is our first program,
Mhm.
and have one more person to help you. It wouldn't, a volunteer wouldn't hurt to
Sure,
have
if
another
somebody
pair of
else
eyes
wants
out
to
there.
show up.
So
and-
if somebody wants to.
Check my calendar, I'm here that weekend, I'm happy to help.
I know, I'm out of town both
Whatever
weekends,
you
or else I
need,
would
yeah.
come.
If I don't find anybody, I'll have a friend do it.
I mean, I would do it too, I just don't know if I'm available. The 17th?
Yeah,
August?
the dates are right there, and,
Yeah.
just reserving on my own calendar, so. I mean,
I thought you would be
I'm
great
gonna-
at
I'm gonna
policing
own
the
it.
parents to make sure they're actually watching their kids.
Well, as a teacher, I actually, as a yacht club member too, who has drinking parents, I have no problem with parents owning their stuff. Watch your kid, I'm out here, they're in there, no problem.
Okay.
So, but if I can get two people, that'd be great. It'd be nice to have an adult that was just watching on the inside while I, schmoozing on the outside.
Is it gonna be just like any kind of rules as the number of kids inside, or is that even?
Yeah,
possible?
the top lot jumper people actually are going to be there.
Oh, they are
They
gonna-
don't actually leave you alone with the top lot jumper. They usually give you some instructions and stuff like that, so. I don't know if they actually have a person that's there. We'll figure that out
Yeah, I have no
when we
idea.
talk to them. And I'm sure we can arrange for them to be there. And then I have my second person.
Okay, great, that's great.
But thank you for the heads up, so I'll make sure that.
Yeah, I don't think they always stick around, so you,
Well,
so
if,
better check.
if they are in a, like, residential area, probably not, but they're in a commercial area where they have higher liability, so it's in their best interest to stick around.
Okay.
Should make sure.
When we talked about this the other day, we talked about maybe getting some caution tape to put along the road. Remember when we did the Burnham event there, people were still flying down Obispo Road at 40 miles an hour? And maybe some tarps to put in front of them, because there are sticker bushes and things in front of them. So Delia was gonna look into just buying a couple tarps, so we have those to put in front of them.
Yeah, I think one of the most challenging things at that event is going to be having it just what ages 1 to 5. There's going to be other kids, older kids are going to want to play, and
Well, actually, the top lot jumpers are not designed for 1 to 5, they're actually designed for like 4 to 8.
well, that's why we call it tot lot, because it is designed, and the program was set up for the youngest of the kids.
Right.
So we need to make an internal decision whether, we need to change this
'Cause we've got it in the
Here.
guide as 1 to 5.
or not.
So siblings will show up and they're older, I think it's a management issue, I have no problem with it. There's very gentle 8-year-olds that will jump with their siblings and be very kind. I was a homeschooler, so I dealt with multiple ages, First time I was at Ocean View Park, my kid was like 18 months old, he's hanging on to that thing, that bridge that went between, right? Where your fingers could get pinched in the chain and the thing. And the homeschoolers, they're racing around and they'd get to the thing, they'd go over each other's body. And they pat Dana on the head and they'd be fine. So I really think it's a management issue and I have no problem with it.
But for you.
I agree with you, because the parents will be there too.
Yes.
Looking out for their own, plus you there to like mitigate whatever goes on between.
Right. So I have no
No.
problem, I understand it's tot lot, 1 to 5, that's fine, but I can make those like management decisions, I think, on the spot.
Because they rate them up to,
Completely, yes, they do rate them, exactly.
do we have an issue of having kids under 4 if they rate them for 4
Well,
days?
first of all, where did I get this idea? There are 4 different districts in the peninsula that are offering this ages 1 to 5. So this is not unusual, this has become the norm, and it's one of the few things that a 1 and 2-year-old can participate in without getting hurt and enjoy it. So make McDonald's doesn't have any problem.
I wasn't objecting
Yeah.
to that. I was wondering if they rate them at that age and we have kids younger, are we creating liability? Sorry, I was doing a lawyer
Well,
question.
I think, from what I looked at the Tot Lot Jumper websites, I think you might be creating liability, because they are rated for older, not younger. They're not, the Tot Lot Jumpers that I saw, nothing was rated for 1 to 4, 1 to 5. They were all rated from 4 to 8, 4 to 10, that kind of thing. So that's an interesting observation that Patrick made, because I'm not seeing that on the small business end of things.
Mhm.
From the providers.
Yes, from the providers, right? Because their liability is gonna be driven from their insurance companies rather than from an agency.
Is this a bounce house?
It's bounce house.
Okay. Well, we have to decide whether we change the name and leave the tots out. But it is being used elsewhere. I don't know the exact jumper that they're using, and that's why we needed to have supervision there and not rely just on parents if we're having young kids, because they could get run over very easily by, and not on purpose, by older kids, so.
Well, they manage the Top Lot Jumper at La Petite Pauline every year for the Pumpkin Festival, so it can be done.
Yeah.
There can't be a more complicated Top Lot Jumper or jumper at La Petite Pauline, because you've got all the Pauline
Yeah.
people who have got little babies, and then you've got just the general public, they're like, oh, my kid's really wants to get his energies out, kind of thing. So maybe it's a question of okay, 10 minutes for the 1 to 4, 1 to 5 people, and then 10 minutes for the older people. I can do that. I mean,
I'm happy to
I
leave it
can
to
do
1 to
anything.
5, but
It
when you
depends on
get to
who's
the
there at the time.
contracting,
exactly.
when you get to the contracting, if they object to 1 to 5, then we might have to make an update on the website. Why we
Which
leave
is
it at
why
that.
QR code is good, because we can update the thing for whatever changes.
Is there gonna be 1 or 2 bounce
Two.
houses?
Oh, no, one bounce house for 2 different days.
Okay, so just
But
one.
that does beg an interesting question. We could have 2.
We could have 2.
We could
and
have
then
2, and one would be for the younger, one would be for the
Right.
older.
Exactly.
Do you wanna change that? A
Well,
little
the
more money,
district,
it
the
doubles the
district
money.
is paying for it. This is a free event,
I mean,
Yeah.
or,
I think it's
excuse me, there's
$500
$5.
I think it's
$5,
$500
I'm
for
sorry.
both days right now. It'd be $1,000 for, an additional one, maybe $1,200.
Yeah.
Because the older one I would get.
Parks so far has not been an expensive proposition for the district,
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
other
it's
than
not.
buying land.
Mhm. So maybe we just want to do 1 jumper this time, and I'll manage it.
That's
I-
a
I
few
like, I
other-
like your idea, because I've done that too, over
Mhm.
at Quarry Park when they have them.
Right.
The kids, the younger ones, for half hour or whatever,
Yeah.
15 minutes, and then
Exactly.
the older ones after.
Right.
That works.
Okay,
Good, thanks, Fran. Awesome.
all right,
Now,
then
the
we'll
only
leave it
other
as
one
is.
thing is I really wish we could put the jumper in the vacant lot next to the post office, so nobody has to cross the road.
Delia is going to check with the fire department if they will let us, because they own that land.
Yes, and I think they will. I think they will.
Yeah. Because we just put parking lot, because I figured they'll see it.
Yes.
Because we thought not putting it actually in the parking lot, because that gets full on
You
Saturdays.
avoid the whole Burnham Strip,
Right. We know
danger.
we can put it across from the fire station on the Burnham Strip, because that's district land.
right.
But she was gonna at least ask the fire department if they'll let us use their spot. Yeah, it was when the wind came up, we were concerned. When Delia comes back in, remind her that she said she'd ask them. Family dog training is set, and she's anxious for me to open up the link, because she's got people who want to sign up. And so they want a minimum of 6, maximum of 15. But at least 1 parent with up to 2 children and 1 dog. And so that will be interesting.
Are there age limitations for the dogs?
Not for the dogs, so, from 6 months to mature. She wants them at least.
6 months, okay.
Yeah.
I have an 11-week-old puppy at home.
Well, come and meet her, because she's
Barely gonna
just
make it.
starting her business and she's.
meet her.
Huh?
Yeah, come and
Yeah,
meet her.
she's a wolf.
The big poodle in the picture is my friend's poodle, who
Oh,
weighs about
yeah.
95 pounds.
That's a big dog.
Who Kelsey trained from the time she was 10 weeks old.
Yeah.
But yeah, she got all 6 of those dogs to sit down at once. I thought that was a good training. So I don't have her paperwork, so I'm gonna note that I need her, we thought she had to do fingerprints at first, so I'll have her contract as soon as I tell her she doesn't have to do it. History of creating and preserving Quarry Park in our small town by our resident expert Fran. Free registration is set, meeting at Quarry Park right at the entrance. And so that's set for June. Skateboard again, another pass-through. Learn to surf camp for kids. Paul, this is Tim. So he's one that we can
This
get
is what
his.
we're talking about.
Oh,
Yes.
would you like a copy? I have an extra copy.
on the agenda, it looks great, actually.
Mhm. Actually, here, I'm
You've done a great job.
happy to give you a copy of both what we're looking at and the newsletter that we're talking about. Tim's camp, we can do his contract, Paul, I guess, but we just have to wait on his fingerprint until we get that set up.
Yeah, I did, I saw the emails.
Okay.
Is that being vetted?
Is,
Back to
so you think that's all well in hand, other than the fingerprints?
He is super cooperative.
Yeah, he's been here before. Teen Girls Intro to Sailing.
Here's the document, pass it on to Delia, if you would. Pass it down to Delia.
Whatever she is.
Oh, I think she was checking on more printing.
So I think with that, it's ready to go. We
Okay.
had a few word changes, you got those, I sent those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at it, just to make sure.
There was lunch, and,
No, I got the lunch for the adaptive bikes.
oh, that was bikes, sorry.
Yeah, you sent me word changes for the adaptive bikes.
Okay.
Teen Girls was the date change. So there's
So
some.
she got back to me, I'll make a note to self, to forward that email.
Yeah, as soon as we get the fingerprint capability, we'll need to get back to touch with that. And same with the Learn to Sail Camp for Youth. Since they're booking directly, I'm sure that they have all of the fingerprints and stuff they needed. We just have to get certified to receive them from them since they're booking through us.
Yeah, so far, the comment I got was, what is this stuff? So I'm trying to help them along.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can't have them do it yet though until we're ready. Coastal Trail History Walk, Gail is also doing this one, and I have to admit, I'm gonna attend it because I don't know the history of the coastal trail being set up there.
Yeah, right, me either.
I have a question regarding all these history ones. Is there a synopsis or any sort of, where you're citing this history from, or any sort of vetting going on for the actual history being taught?
No.
Okay,
I think most of it comes from Barbara Vanderwerf's
Yeah.
book.
okay,
And personal experience.
Well, yeah.
okay.
Friends is her
I've lived
personal
here.
experience, but,
For my history talk, it's gonna be the last 50 years of what has happened and what has not happened here.
for
Okay.
development.
Okay.
The one that Barbara Dye did last year for History of El Granada and Ocean Shore
Yeah.
came mostly from Barbara Vanderwerf's book.
Right.
And she did give me actually a 3-page synopsis, because I was her backup. I'm happy to
Nice.
share that.
Well, no, I'm just curious where we're
Yeah,
getting, where we're
because
getting.
You and your family must have all the history.
You know, you get them started, you'll never hear the end of it.
That would be great.
Well, I'm a Half Moon Bay history docent,
There you
and
go.
on Coastside Buzz, I have a whole page
I've
of
read them.
Half Moon Bay. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, most of it is older history, so mine is the last 50 years.
Very
So
cool.
where the others end, I think mine begins.
Yeah. Yeah, from the end, after the railroad went bankrupt in 1976, when
Oh,
the
is
real
that
estate
when that
company
happened?
shut down. Skateboard summer camp is a pass-through. Rancho Corral, we didn't spell right on here. Corral de,
It's a tough one.
2 hours.
2 R's on Corral. The Tierra Hike, the National Park Service is sponsoring and going to deliver that hike. Jean, I thought this would interest you because this is going to be in Spanish.
Yeah, I can forward this to you.
Okay, great.
Which group is that?
Puente and Alice.
Okay. Perfect.
Puente and Alice are the ones who will in touch because they're original those groups. But Osaka also.
If you could contact Joaquin Jimenez and let him know, and then on Sunday, he does on KHMB, he does his Domingos en Espanol.
Yeah.
That'd be another outlet for him.
Another way we're gonna promote this is, go to the Catholic Church in Half Moon Bay.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
For what?
Go to the Catholic Church in Half Moon Bay and talk about it. The pastor's already given a tentative okay.
Our Lady
Wow,
of the
That's
Pillar.
cool.
You did this spot.
Yeah.
Okay, so that one is set. It's free. Do we need contract and paperwork for that?
No, it's
Okay.
free.
Okay. Introduction to shoreline clams and fish. Kirk is set. We got his date set. And we have adults required for that one, so we don't need immigrants for that.
I'm sending the proposal, hopefully we get it back. And that's, with something like this, it's just more or less to make sure everybody's on the same exact wording and page and everything else.
Yeah. Yes, you can't eat anything during the walk. And that one I think is 9 years old and up. We'll get to that.
Right. And parents required.
Parents required. Skateboard camp is another pass-through. We have 4 of those. Then mid-August, the Tot Lot Jumpers. I'll see if I can do more promotion this time for the medians cleanup. I had one person join me and my husband last time to walk 3 medians, and actually, they weren't that dirty. So we got
Well, that's
two
good.
bags of trash between the 3 of us going up
That's still
Balboa,
sad,
Alameda, and Cabrillo. So I know where the parties are. And who doesn't pick up their dog poop.
Yeah.
But we had a little history talk, walk and talk, while we were, that's what I learned the history for. And then the one person who came has lived here 45 years, so. The adaptive cycling for kids with needs. Pat, you might need a helper for this one?
Yes. Bay Area Outdoor Recreation Program, which is an adaptive program in Berkeley. I'm driving over to pick up the cycles. I'm picking up one of their staff. I will be there, and we need one other person to help volunteer instead. Again, this is just a pair of eyes to make sure everything is going well.
If I'm around, I'll help, yeah.
Okay.
Once you get the date set.
And it's the 7th of September. We do have that
Oh,
first.
As long as I don't have any current travel, I'll mark it down.
I'll help too, and there's a great need for a QR code right there. Just saying, check the date.
Oh, we've got a date now.
Oh, okay.
But it would have been a great place for a QR code.
So what's the date?
No, September 7th.
So,
And I'm actually going to help Fran clean up Quarry Park, so I won't be able to there.
So
But
the 2 things are the same day?
they ended up on the same
where's it
day.
gonna be, Pat?
This is meeting
Put
at Magellan
cleanup the
and the
next week.
Coastal Trail.
Oh, okay.
You can.
So everybody can come and help.
Do you want to move the cleanup to the 14th?
Yeah.
This is a last chance. Okay. Because how many trash cans did you, how many big wheelies did you
About
get the last
12.
time?
12 trash cans, just around the big tree on the corner
That's
of
sad.
the,
Wow.
at the entrance to the park.
Wasn't trash, it was debris.
Debris,
Debris,
yeah,
yeah.
bark that has fallen off
Oh,
the
okay.
tree for years, and nothing ever, the grass
Now
never
it'll
grew.
grow.
Now
But it
it's
does
all
now.
beautiful and green, just
Looks
like I
nice
hoped.
now.
So it was worth doing.
Nancy,
This is
I noticed on
kind of-
the adaptive, the latest additions are not on there, so I will, I'm making a note to resend the email. I'll do it tonight.
The last additions are not,
Coastal Trail, the meeting place changed, the Coastal Trail at Magellan, near restrooms, south end of Murata Surplus. So I will, I'll resend that, and then the date was listed as well.
I think on the one she just handed out, it's on there.
No, it's not, okay, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. I think that's the one.
Okay. I know, it's on the latest one Marty got to
Okay.
me on Sunday, so I
Okay.
know I saw it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll double check. I remember typing. Okay, and then the last, the HEAL project is a pass-through, so there are 6 5-day sessions, and we will have, in the newsletter, we have the dates and names of each of the camps. And then we send people directly to the HEAL project website to sign up. So that way, Paul, we didn't have to keep track of how many come from here and how many come from there, they just sign up directly.
Yeah, and she did say they had like a "How did you hear from us?" link, so that they could click that. And then, I mean, she was willing to, do a
Dedicate
10%
some spots.
fee, so, I could ask her if she would, do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be
Yeah.
great, because we need to have a end of the season evaluation of the program and how many
Oh, absolutely.
people were in
Yeah.
each one, and.
Just
Yeah.
even the feedback on how many people came from our
Exactly.
materials to her would be really helpful.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Just for those who weren't here last year, our first few hikes had about 15 people, and then even with kind of reposting in the post office and reposting on Nextdoor, we had one person at mountain biking, we had one person at yoga, we had one person at the cleanup, we had 2 people at the Quarry Park cleanup. We didn't have anybody for the kids mountain biking, and so it
I
tended
didn't
to
even
spread
make it.
out during the summer.
Yes.
You were gonna leave?
It was, and we've got an earlier start this year, that was the problem, that was the big
Yeah.
problem last year.
No, I had to work.
Oh.
Yeah, we didn't
Actually
get it
worked a
out
lot of
until the first
Saturdays, so.
June.
Been a lot in the last couple of years.
So we're set, the next thing I wanted to touch on was promotion.
I have a question.
Yeah.
There's 2 history walks, so you said Gail Erickson is doing one. Didn't Barbara say she was gonna do one?
Barbara couldn't commit to dates, so Gail is doing one on Ocean Shore and one on Coastal Trail.
Oh, she's gonna do both?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and then I really like the Quarry Park ad. So we brainstormed between Pat and I, along with David and Barbara, some promotion. We will get extra copies of the guide that we can put around the post office, Spangler's, Press, OPL, maybe Edgewater Cafe. I was trying to think of any place on the
Any
Miramar
place, yeah.
side. We can give the links to Coastside Buzz to bring that to the
I
website.
could promote every single event singularly, so.
Jean's comments made me think I'll drop off some guides at Coastside Hope in their waiting area as well.
Or at Pillar Ridge Manufacturing Home Park.
Mhm.
Pillar Ridge is not in our
And
district,
Moon Ridge and Main Street. There you go, she knows the one.
but but they're not in our district.
Yeah, just, Pillar Ridge, start with that, I mean,
No, even Pillar Ridge isn't. They're Moss Beach.
oh.
They can come, I think they can come.
They can absolutely, they absolutely can come. I just didn't want to encroach on where Half Moon Bay is handing things out, because that's
You
their
know,
spot.
if you just like, Jose Temez at, on Thursday night, Harvest, the second Harvest, he's always there, and he will, translate for you, and, do you know him? Jose Temez, he's just one of the movers and shakers in Pillar Ridge. Anyway, he was one of my CERT people when I was training him, and he's just somebody who's very proactive in the community, so.
Well, I don't know him, so you might be better off going, talking with him, but I do know what you mean. And,
Nice.
And Alice is actually good. Are you familiar with Alice? Do you know?
Yeah. I've met Belinda.
Yeah. she's probably the most connected person in the community, the village and the community.
Yeah.
What I was gonna, I have to go Warriors game. But, is there a flyer for this by any chance, just for the walk?
There will
There will
be
be.
coming in the mail, hopefully within a couple weeks.
Yeah. Maybe sending out an e-newsletter, so,
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're on a list,
I am on your list.
yeah, you'll definitely get
Okay,
me.
all right.
Speaking of posters, we're gonna ask, Delia, I think you were gonna contact Half Moon Bay Review about doing an ad for our programs or a potential article?
Right, actually, we were talking about doing an ad, is what I recall.
Yeah.
So I don't know about an article, but we were gonna talk to Marty, because I don't know what you want.
To put an ad
I don't know
together.
what you want it to look like, I don't know. And if you want it to go in next week, I think we really need to get on it like tomorrow, because
When we meet tomorrow.
I'll have to call, but I think Friday's the typical cutoff, but for something
But
that's
it's Monday
large.
at 5.
Yeah, but something that's a half page, I think we might have to give them a little bit more time, so.
Okay, when we meet tomorrow, maybe we
Okay.
can talk to
Yeah,
about Marty
definitely.
about getting an ad for us.
And maybe put something in the magazines.
Okay.
And also that, on the inside, first page, they have, those like 3 different events they put in there every week. You can slip one of those in for free.
Yes. Well, last year they did an article for us. We had a
Maybe
news
they'll
article.
do that too. I mean, all 3 things, I mean.
So I can ask,
And the calendar that they offer is free for listings.
Genevieve, I think, knew how to put stuff on their calendar, because you can do that directly.
No, there's a page that's like 7 pages deep, and it's like maybe they cover about 7 or 8 different things. Usually it's like the brewery and, music and stuff, but it's varied, and you could slip one of those, Parks and Recs things in
Oh, on the, like,
every
page
week
7
over
of
the
the paper.
summer, and I can help you with the timing of all that kind of stuff, because I know where I live.
Okay.
So you mean each week, put in
Yeah.
whatever we're doing?
Put in something in.
And I was gonna suggest maybe, rather than do a new flyer every week, we could post this in the post office and where we post it, and then highlight each, the week of the event or something.
Yeah, we are allowed to post things in the post office.
So for the post office, don't leave any printed material there, because it will end up in the bin. But if you could put it on their bulletin board, so they can see everything,
Yeah.
then people will use it. But honestly, it's.
I don't know how many people ever read them, but.
We actually
Just go to
on
the
the
post
wall.
office after they've done a release, from any of the public agencies, everything is in the garbage. And the review is really very distressed by this, so.
Because we are a government agency, we get to tape stuff up on the wall. So I usually go for
All
when
the
you're standing
meetings
in
are
line
posted
waiting for a
there.
package. Because that's where I read them, when you're standing in line waiting for a package, you see them there.
Right.
One of the things that we would like to do, and maybe we can ask Genevieve to help with this, is, we ask the staff to post on Nextdoor and Facebook the blurb just for the thing, just for each thing, 10 days ahead of it and 5 days ahead of it, so that we get the promotion out there ahead. Most of the registrations I set up to close 2 days before the event, so that we can tell the instructor how
Yeah,
many
if there's
people are
individual
there.
links, there are quite a few of these events that I could send out to my user base for Coastside Mountain Bikers. There's over 200 members
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
of that. Not all of them are local, but Coastside Mountain Bikers has a lot of reach, and a lot of this crosses over,
A lot of
the
families and
Quarry
stuff,
Park, a lot of
yeah.
families, a lot of kids, for the skating and the Quarry Park cleanup, and even the history.
Great,
I can post those, if there's an individual link to those activities as they upcome,
yeah.
I can post those on the Instagram, Facebooks, and
I can see you doing a Coastside bike history tour.
Okay.
history's not my forte, I wanna move forward.
Well, if you combine it with the breweries and the history, I'll be with you.
There you go, there you go.
Well, I lost
Make
Delia
history.
again. If Delia,
Make
um,
history.
what we did last time was just take the text for the one, make a big poster out of
Yeah,
it, and then,
Mhm.
post
yeah, if there's like a
those.
PDF of that, then I can
I
But
saw those Sunday,
Delia, if,
right? Yeah, I saw.
Genevieve can make a one-pager out of each of these, just a big version of each thing that's in there, then that's what we could post on Nextdoor and,
you're talking about out of the guide?
out of the guide, yeah.
Okay, so just take that, blow it up,
Yeah,
okay.
And
Into-
next door is big. It's great for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As much as I can do with Buzz, next door is also an awesome
yeah, it's just
platform.
got so many people on it. And on the next door, in the poster, we should put the links, even though they're very long. Or QR codes.
Well,
We learn how to do that.
you can make the URL tiny. There's ways to do that. You don't have to post it.
Yeah, you can click on it.
Okay,
Um,
we'll see what we can do on that.
So we will have, so our promotion plan for each event will be on Nextdoor and Facebook, and email the poster around to the PAC so that we can send them to our distribution networks,
Okay.
10 days ahead and 5 days ahead. We will get materials out to all of the local places where they let us put materials. And one additional idea, and this is one, Michelle, you've come up with before, is maybe the beginning of May, the first Saturday in May, to table at the post office and have them there, talk to people about them, talk them through, make sure they get this in their hand, and send them. So we could do that for maybe a couple Saturdays.
Happy to do that, yeah.
Delia is going to be ordering a GCSD banner that you could put over a card table. So do we have, now this is where I have yellow spaces on my paper to get volunteers' names. I thought maybe just every couple, like May 4th, May 18th, June 1st, just those first few weeks to try to blanket the community a little bit.
It's already on my calendar.
I'm talking about doing the posting.
Yeah,
If you want to give me like, I'll write it on the calendar, that would probably be easier. 'Cause
okay, but like 10 to 12 on
we
May
have a
4th.
calendar in the back page that was added in, after the electronic version of the packet came out, so maybe we can just circle or highlight.
Okay, but I was just looking for volunteers who would do it.
I would like to do it, I do have potential of work on Saturdays. It's been happening quite a bit, so, but I would like to help do that too.
Could you do like a late afternoon one day?
That would be, yeah, but the post office on on a weekday, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, I could do like a Monday or Thursday afternoon.
so maybe May 16th, Thursday?
Can I get back to you?
Yeah, tentative.
Yeah, that'd be good. Spread the word. And that's to have a booth, like a table, and present the summer activity guide, right?
Yeah, and just to
that sounds great.
catch people and talk to them about it. And
Yeah,
when I was campaigning for GCSD and I was in front of the post office, I would have to say all in one breath, Granada Community Services District,
Yeah.
we do your sewers and parks, because people have no idea
They
what
don't know
Granada
what it
Community
is.
Services
Mhm.
District is. So it's actually just good promotion then for the district
yep,
to be out there.
branding.
Yeah,
I can't do the 4th, because I already have an event, but I can do the 5th. And I can,
well, if Sunday is not a good day for the post
if
office.
it's not, I guess you've already done it on Saturday, haven't they?
No, the 4th is Saturday, May 4th.
I can do the 5th, I can't do
Yeah.
the 4th.
Not many people come to the post office on Sunday. Some do.
Sorry, I can't help out, I'm gone most of the month.
Yeah, you are. Can you do a late afternoon, Michelle? Because that's the other time to
I
really
can
catch
do the,
people.
I can do on Saturday? Yeah, I can do that.
There's less traffic on Saturday afternoons because people aren't picking up packages, but there's still people coming.
That will work, actually. So the city of Half Moon Bay is doing an emergency prep thing on May 4th, just so you know. They're actually getting to be very coast-side wide, not just Half Moon Bay. So FYI.
So what's it gonna be?
I will be in the afternoon on the 4th.
No,
Okay.
I mean, what's happening there?
Oh, it's on Main Street, and they're gonna block off a couple blocks near Kelly, and they're gonna have the fire trucks and just all of the agency meetings, and, you know, people there on the tables and stuff like that.
Oh,
And then I'm having a Memorial Day shelter-in-place
Oh,
disaster
that's
prep
Memorial
weekend,
weekend.
which is on the Memorial weekend, right?
oh,
So, but I'm gonna jump off their May 4th thing, so.
So if if you think those are worth doing, then let me know, and I will do the post office on the 1st of June,
Okay.
and then I think we'll be good. Okay, we've got promotion.
Nancy, an idea that Dave Seaton had was that, along with tabling at the post office, was to use that banner of the district and have a presence right out of Obispo, to where, we could have the district banner and then something, a banner, a sub-banner about summer activities, sign up here, or summer programs. We get most everybody has to go by there that lives around here, so, that could be something that targets locals, not Highway 1 visitors.
It's kind of, how is it different from the post office?
Post office, you don't see that, unless you're going to the post office.
Unless you're going to the post office.
This is the traffic on Obispo.
Yeah, and we talked about the district getting their own tent, shade tent.
Yeah, but whether it's by Burnham Park or whether it's farther north where, a lot of other traffic goes, it's one and a half dozen of the other, but, that was his suggestion, a big, I wouldn't call it an event, but, we could even go as far as to have a jumper house there that day, but that was his idea.
We talked, it sort of branched off something Chris Johnson mentioned a while ago about basically having an El Granada fair where all of the different providers, all the different businesses basically could have a booth, sort of if you think about the one that's in the harbor with the seafood.
Fish and Fleet?
Yeah, Fish and Fleet. Have something for El Granada with all the different businesses and providers, and sponsored by GCSD, where we promote GCSD.
Like a block party of sorts.
Yeah, and I could
It's a good idea.
see that, but I don't know that I want to sit out there with just this.
You're asking for a lot of work there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, when
Yeah, it's a
we
lot.
have a little bit more to promote, and maybe when we have a park to put it in.
yeah.
That's interesting.
Are these flyers, are they posted at El Granada Elementary as well?
They're not posted anywhere yet.
I mean, but will they be? Do they have
I was
representation?
thinking I could, because I do know someone from the PTO.
I'm there every day, and
Oh, well
my
then,
wife's there every day,
yeah,
so she's
there you
there.
go.
Yeah, we will get extras of lots of these, so anywhere where you want to put them.
Yeah, well, we can
come
put it,
grab them
we
from
can,
Delia and put
because of the
it.
summer camp, things of that nature, my wife does the PTO minutes.
Oh,
She types
okay.
all that, so that could be something we could add, as families are adding their summer plans and things of that
We
nature.
went to one of their PTO meetings when we were doing the Balboa event.
Probably remember.
And passed those out, probably did.
So
I know
would we also,
Holly DeVal is my neighbor, that's my
There you go.
contact at the PTO.
so, but, because, what about like the other schools, Hatch and Fairlawn View? Should we do some circulation over there to some degree? I mean, I know there's quite a few people that go to Hatch that live in El Granada.
Yeah.
How about
Fairlawn
the-
Plots are
How about
some.
the Boys and the Girls Club?
They
yeah.
already put up flyers.
Yeah.
in the school.
But they
Or are
cover
we
the
keeping
entire
it to El
coast,
Granada?
so
Yeah.
it's not non-denominational.
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
Boys and Granada thing.
There's
We have to
some where
decide.
we have limited spots, so
Yeah.
I'm worried about going
Oh,
too far
over
and.
promoting.
Over,
Oh, I don't know.
over promoting is not usually a problem for us, but I'm just worried about if we're trying to do something local for locals, trying to go too far.
Yeah, right,
Um,
right.
I think we should really do a great job promoting in the district, and then it'll go outside on its own to some
Yeah,
extent.
travel.
Some of these events are outside the district, I mean, the skate park and some of the ones I noticed, they're gonna have to get proper.
I mean, yeah, exactly, some of the people that are providing the services are not from here necessarily, so
Right.
from them, their point of view is marketing more globally would be an extra advantage for them.
Yeah, to fill up the spots, definitely help them fill up the spots.
Because
Well, and next door will be
we might
farther.
fill up our spots, but then we can say, oh, we'll go to this vendor and they will start another class for you. And that makes, I mean, as a small business person,
Yeah,
that's really, I mean, you're doing a favor.
it's really something we
I'm
really
doing a
want to do
favor
is
for you
promote our
guys by
locals.
offering the first aid class. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna make a little bit of money on it, but it's more of a just community sort of thing. But and that, it's not my business, but for these guys, it's their business, so they're looking to generate more business.
Yeah, and give them more airtime.
I think too, if maybe on a website, there was a link that said to see Granada's, summer programs. I think maybe people from El Granada would be more interested in clicking that link, you know?
And I could do a Facebook audience that's just El Granada, super sexy, very pointed.
Do you guys all know that the district has a Facebook page? Good. Okay.
Yes.
Go find it and like it. Not a lot of action there, but we'll start having these coming out on it. Okay, then, any other ideas or things folks want to volunteer for? If not, we will move on to the newsletter, which is really mostly just a jacket for the guide. And repeating some of the things that have been in our past newsletters, just to keep reminding people who we are and what we do.
So how's it gonna be, I take it this is gonna be the address?
It'll be the guide inside, and then, so that you could pull it out, so they'll both be foldovers, and then like that.
And which is the
And then the
first
address
pa-
goes
I
on.
mean, how does, is it like this?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'll show you these ones. This is
Are you
gonna
showing
be
them to
the
the camera?
newsletter that'll go out. So everybody, watch for it.
I'll just give you a moment to look, and any comments or updates. I made Dale PAC member emeritus.
That was very
This was some of what's in here was actually in the e-newsletter that we did in September, but our mailing list at that point only had about 40 people on it, so we repeated it on paper.
You're gonna send it to everybody in the community, aren't you?
Yeah, you told me, we use the Recology list, because people pay their sewer through their property tax bill, so they have all their addresses.
So, the recycling part, right here, there's this lady, her name is Michelle Cleve, and she does Sea Hugger, and she just wrote a pretty impressive editorial, it was online, but it was about the fact that recycling is, it's better not to use it in the first place. So that's the new recycle movement, is don't use it in the first place.
Yes, it's don't use plastic, and then you don't have to recycle it.
I mean, every time you go to the store, you have to think about, well, what are they putting it in? You can use all kinds of different receptacles to put your stuff in. Like, when I go eat out, I actually bring a Corel well thing, that I can tell my leftovers in. So I don't take a
Yeah.
takeout box, and I can heat it up better. It's just those, and I sold my car, so I don't drive. Don't use straws, don't use plastic, so that's the don't use part of it. And it actually might be the first line in there, is before recycling right, we shouldn't be recycling.
Yeah, before recycling, right,
Before,
avoid
using it before recycling should be the title.
Well, I might suggest that we could advance to that next, but the problem is that there is contamination that's put in people's
True.
recycle bins. And we're approaching it from the point of Recology of the Coast, who is our waste hauler. And the problems that they have with the recycling sorting plant, and the plastic bags being an issue and so forth. So if you want to get your recyclables actually recycled, you need to minimize the contamination on those items. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Now I kind of
Yeah.
rinsing out things and
So here's a problem with that. Now you're using water and energy to wash things out.
Yeah. well,
What's
that's-
the cost benefit of that? So again,
Well,
it gets back down to not using stuff.
That's conservation.
Yeah.
It's
Recycling
conservation.
story.
You can use
Exactly.
paper towel or something like that, but we can only look, we can only say so much.
Yeah.
and
This is
people- yeah.
I think it's just,
It's
this
a
is make
start.
sure your recycling doesn't end up in the landfill
It seems
because
to me
you
that
didn't
you're
recycle it.
advertising for ecology processes, which are not necessarily in our best
interests.
But it's a district
It's a
service.
district,
Oh,
yeah.
I got it, sorry. Corporation
It
policy,
is a
got
good
it.
idea, like, for one of them, though, to have a section on how to reduce your plastic use or something.
Reduce, reuse.
Yeah, but have a section of one of the future ones on reducing and using.
Yeah, do a whole thing on mythology.
I think actually that is a good idea.
Yeah.
Recycling.
Yeah,
Yeah, on TV the other night, they said, if there's food contamination, you should rinse them out. Yeah, so we use a little water. But, they said, if in doubt, throw it out, which means in the garbage, not in the recycling bin. So if it's really dirty or something you're not sure of,
Well,
'cause
something
a lot of
simple.
people are putting recycling stuff in that doesn't belong in the recycling bin.
Yes.
Well, I made a note for the fall newsletter, so maybe we should have something in the trash vein every time, and that could be the reduce,
Yeah.
reuse.
because there's so much you can do.
There's there's things you would know
Yeah, like
in the
we-
animal rights,
Yeah.
proper care of animals in the pharmaceutical, reduce,
Oh,
reuse,
yeah,
replace,
yeah,
respect.
yeah. But we started growing our own vegetables to cut down on, everything comes in plastic from the store, and then we realized the things we were germinating our vegetables in were plastic, so now we use toilet paper rolls cut in half.
Nice.
So it's
I
like,
love
there's
it.
so much you
Yeah.
can do.
That would be
Becoming
really
very
cool.
plastic aware.
If we had a Facebook page and we could generate, interest like that, where everybody would tell their recycling stories,
Mhm.
I think that would be pretty interesting for people on the coast. I think it would be very.
There's a
cool to find
lot
out.
that I don't even think of, I
Yeah.
have to learn.
Even if we just used GCSD, a space on Nextdoor to do it, cheap, inexpensive, and I know that the county has their own feed on Nextdoor. Christina Big is, and she also does Half Moon Bay Patch, so I know it can be done. So we can use Nextdoor, forget Facebook, just use Nextdoor.
There was something with Nextdoor limiting, well, do we have a GCSD account on Nextdoor, Delia?
I don't.
I know there was something
Not
about
as
they
an
were
agency,
limiting,
But I just go on and post it as an individual.
yeah, at least you get a comment thread going.
But the San Mateo County has their own feed.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
but
you can register, I just
Mhm.
haven't
Yeah.
done it, but I can look into that.
I think it came up at MCC, and they said that Nextdoor is now limiting how many of those types of accounts they get out.
Really?
But this is local.
But that's too
You
bad.
would think.
Yeah, maybe we could prioritize.
They should
some
look
of
at
it
it at all, it's terrible.
Any other
To help our own.
comments, ideas?
It looks good.
With Sue's letter. We'll let that one go. I will, when we come to our August meeting, we'll be talking about the fall e-newsletter, and I will be looking for additional authors. So, fair warning. It's a different kind of voice.
But I don't know, if this is related, but it takes a lot of work by you and other committee members to put this together. And it just begs the question that the district needs additional staff to take over most, if not all of the summer program guide.
Right.
So, I'd like to test, if you will, a motion that future guides should be primarily done through paid staff of the district rather than the volunteer efforts of the committee. I don't know if we want to, it is related to this, so I don't think I'm off subject. But it just incredibly points out a lot of all the work that goes into it. You put in many hours, I put in several years.
Yeah, for
Many
the
hours.
building relationships, contracting, and managing. Director Dye asked me to draft up kind of what we do and what that would look like. So it's not an
Yeah.
off-base motion. When the board talked about should we contract with somebody for park staff in January, it was a repeat of conversation they've had a few times because they can't form up exactly what you want that staff to do. They're very appreciative that we do what we do, but they don't really know what it is. They just know that, then stuff
They see a lot of
comes
work
out.
done.
And so I committed to writing that down. So we could make a motion just so that we have it on the record, that we draft basically what a summer recreation coordinator would look like.
I think you just make a copy of this and say they need to do that.
And all of the background work that goes
It goes
behind
into
it.
that, period.
The
Yeah,
registration
you can
sites,
make a
the
couple of bullet
contracts,
points,
the
but
fingerprinting,
It doesn't
the-
have to be, yeah, rocket science. It's obvious what we're doing.
Yeah.
And same for the newsletter. And yes, I think a communications person should be hired. For pennies on a dollar, it could be a part-time person, and they also do a little bit of social media. A local part-time person, preferably.
Agreed.
Yeah, there might even be like way to contract someone.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
Yeah.
and once you
Good
have,
idea or not, but.
I mean, I can refer you to people. I mean, that's what I do. Julie Mel could easily do this for you guys.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it's not, it's the communication and all of the things that we've asked everybody on the committee to do,
Contract.
to find the vendors and contract with the vendors and organize the dates and then make sure it actually happens and all that sort of stuff.
and then once a person like that was hired, then professors like myself who teach in a recreation program in the Bay Area would recommend interns for this particular position. But right now, you know, the staff is really doing great, but they're overcommitted and they're willing to have any time to teach an intern what an intern needs to know. Intern is not expected to be doing it themselves. They're supposed to be working and getting direction from staff and then do things.
They work for
So-
free to get intellectual property called training.
Right.
Yes. And
Right,
so if we
so
don't have the training part, it's gonna be hard for them to
if-
work.
Another reason that if we did get additional staff, that we could find more help as well. So I'll throw out a motion and see what you think. I'm gonna try to keep it general. The PAC recommends hiring a coordinator position summer
20, how about
2020, that would coordinate production, be in charge of production of the summer guide. The webpage would be updating the webpage, and would be staffing events that happen during the summer.
And the Gazette.
Can we consolidate that motion just to say, recreation program activities? or something
Coordinator.
like- Coordinator, there you go.
Yeah.
Because that's a really.
I would do it just as simple as
Or
PAC proposes to
Program,
board a
communications,
remit.
and coordinator.
Yeah, PAC proposes to the board the remit for a summer recreation, communications and coordinator.
Program, guide.
Summer
coordinator.
recreation.
Yeah.
program.
Yeah, because it'd be on the guide.
But his
Right,
product
that's what I'm
list
for.
was good. You're looking at the guide, the Gazette, the website, and social media, so those are the four.
Yeah, just promotion.
Constructs,
Right,
yeah.
right.
The summer rec program, communications and promotion.
And coordination.
Coordination,
Yeah, something
yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
Well, I think you guys have done a fabulous job on this. I know a lot of work went into it.
I do
So,
too. I second that motion.
congratulations.
I
Thank you for
agree.
doing all
Nancy.
that.
Nice job.
And
Thanks, Pat.
this can be a guide for whoever gets hired.
You all know that Pat pushed us, and that's why we have it.
Was-
The motion was by Pat. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And any other comment?
I think the position could probably be a 6-month position, and that would take care of most of the work. And would start somewhere in, just for discussion purposes, somewhere around the first of the year, and would run through September. And that would cover most of what we do until we have facilities. Once we have a community center or we have other facilities, and that person then becomes full-time, but I see it
Basically,
as
from the
part-time.
beginning of planning through the delivery of the last program.
Right.
I think it'll be hard to find somebody that's gonna take a job, at 6 months. I think it should be more like a year-round,
a contract as on-demand position. I think that, you know, contract labor is probably more receptive to these types of, you know, they might have like 5 or 6, you know, contracts over the year, and they might have a bulge in a certain place, but they can manage it. And I think that our goal should be a year-round thing, like the sea forager guy, he could do stuff year-round, I see him doing it all year round. Our sailing, you know, adult sailing, it's like from November to February is the only time that we're not sailing, so there's always sailing there. So I think there's some year-round things that we can look at, and I think if the person is engaged in a 12-month cycle, they'll be more engaged,
Yeah.
period, because they'll see it
I
more.
see it as developing the relationships.
Right, and I think there's
as
a
well.
ton of people on the coast side that are qualified for this job, and that they would jump at this opportunity to serve the community, as well as to generate some
Yeah,
vibe
even if the hours are
for their-
irregular and,
Yes, yeah, the gig economy.
yeah. Okay.
Well, that's not in the motion, so that was just.
We're just
No, no, I
talking. We're
wasn't
just
gonna put all that,
We're just
detail.
talking.
The motion is based to propose the board a remit for summer recreation program coordinator and communication position. And if they agree to it, then we can work out all the details.
Somebody do what we're doing.
Well, it's got, like the four things, you know, all the communications, the promotion, the vendor management, the delivery management.
Read it again for us.
Propose the board a remit for the summer recreation program coordinator and communication position.
How about just hire a summer, instead of remit, I'm not sure that everybody would be clear on that.
Okay,
Recommend hiring staff.
to hire, yeah.
Coordinator in charge of summer rec programs, communication, promotion, and guide. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Well, that-
Notes to
we
self
just
for
got a
when
lot
I
of work
describe
done
it
right
at
there.
He's got next year's guide
Program
done, huh?
development, vendor manager. Hey, you know, next year, we just have to come to the meetings and say, yeah, that looks good, that's actually what
It'll give us
signed up
bandwidth
for.
to think of more things, is what
Just
it'll
want to
do.
make a note, I think the board's aware that we need a larger staff. I mean, for how many years I was the only full-time employee, and Genevieve came in now, she's full-time, started out part-time, so definitely we're overloaded. I wear, 10 different hats here, so.
Yeah.
I think they're getting to the point where they realize they have to commit, the funds and decide. Being a new parks district, they're not really sure where someone would fit in best and what qualifications, but I think that our general manager is gonna start working with the board and pushing towards that.
Yeah.
I don't know how quickly, but
I
hopefully.
think they're receptive. My sense was they
Yeah.
just needed someone to shape up
Right,
what
and
it is.
Yeah, and I think this is a great idea to make recommendations coming from your committee so that they hear you and will really push forward for this, so I definitely need relief.
Should we, good, glad that you're in support as well. Should we, ready for a vote on that motion? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? You
I
gonna
just don't
oppose?
know enough yet.
Okay. Or abstain?
Can you
Abstain.
abstain?
I abstain.
Abstain.
Yeah. I'm not aware of the workload. Sorry.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Just imagine doing all this.
It helps to have retirees on the committee. We'll put it that way.
Is that a suggestion? I'd love
I
that.
highly,
It's on my list to do, I just haven't gotten to it yet.
highly recommend it. Okay,
Highly recommended?
we looked at the newsletter. The webpage is,
Just passed out.
that Delia just passed out. Taking Michelle's recommendation from the last time, all of the current content, I rearranged so that the oldest stuff is last and put the old stuff under a toggle so people can look at it if they want to. That's why it's yellow. It would be hidden unless you hit the toggle. So it really is mostly what's in our newsletter, our 2019 PAC, what we did at our first, our priorities, what we did at our first meeting. The general content that's on the first page of what you're looking at, down to where it says 2019 PAC, is pretty much static content to explain what the PAC does. It's what's there now. I like the useful links that we have, but I think there are more documents that are hidden in agenda packs that we ought to pull out and put in the useful links. The community survey from 2015, that PowerPoint presentation, the Balboa Play Area report, since that was a little controversial. The median use permit, which is also buried. And then the e-newsletters get parked there as well, so that they're just easy. At some point in the future, if this page gets a lot of traffic, we might move those to the end of the page, but right now they're sitting right at the top of the page.
Just formatting wise, if it's possible to have a bar on the left side, that is the useful links, and then the text would start right at this top. So 3/4 of the page would be the text. The left quarter would be useful links and maybe a great place for a picture or a graphic, something like that. And then finally, I'd recommend using this call out.
Yes, that's,
Where you mention it there, and just to make sure that it jumps.
it visually is, yeah.
Yeah, and there's consistency between all three of the pieces.
Yep. We'll do that.
Is this gonna go out too?
This, Delia and I are meeting with the DUDEC people tomorrow to talk through how to do this, but the convergence needs to be, the web page goes up, the guide goes on it, because the version of the guide that will be here will have the links, the URL links for registering for each program. So the first and last paragraph are a little different, because they don't say go to the web page. So the web page goes live with that version of the guide. We turn on all the registration links, and the mail goes out all within the same 24 hours or so.
It will probably take about 4 to 5 days to get the printing presses done and then actually get it in the mail, so there will be a slight delay.
Do you think next week is reasonable?
I think it's reasonable. If I have it, if all of the updates have been made, we have it ready, because I don't want to send it to them and.
No, I
until
have,
it's ready to print.
I think the 2 changes that we had, I'll send to Marty tonight.
And I'll give them a heads up and let them know it's coming, and they can usually, get extra people in there to do it. They mail it directly from their office.
Okay.
Nancy, do you think we are close enough with the changes that we talked about tonight on the activity guide to have that? And Delia, at least done, whether it's printed or whether it is on the website yet, but at least it's finished this week?
Oh, Marty got the last changes back to me next day, so
Right.
it just depends on whether, we had a delay of a week because she was doing FMR's 50th anniversary
Right.
stuff. So she's been, and we literally
written.
have
Yeah.
3 words to change, so I think, yes.
Yeah.
So Delia, is that the district's perspective, your perspective also that, we'll have the guide ready to roll this week?
The committee approved it, right? So, yeah, I think we'll be ready to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
the only changes are the QR code, the caps for the
And the
families,
website.
and I need to
Yeah.
double check the adaptive cycling.
Yeah, and teen girls sailing, just a few words changed, but I'll send you that.
Okay.
I've already sent it, but I'll resend it.
Okay.
I'd just like to make a note that the phone version of the website looks really good, just don't screw it up. Right now, it looks great, and all the changes that you can make, there's a spot for all of them. The useful links comes at the top of your mobile thing, which is great. You were talking about the
Yeah.
sidebar. It comes up at the top when it's on the sidebar, when it's on mobile. And then you have interested in joining right there in, green. And then, in terms of taking these types of things and turning them into just like a link, you don't really need to, because on mobile, it's just one long feed.
Yeah,
So
that's what it looks like on
in a way, that-
PC right now, too.
right, and
Just
so in a
one
way,
long
it's
feed.
actually more accessible, because if you're on a phone, you just keep going like this until you find something that's interesting, whereas if you've got to click on something, ooh, that's a whole hurdle right there.
Well, it's true, actually, since
Oh,
I've.
Do
since
I
I've-
click or not? Oh, don't see it, don't know.
And
The-
before we all leave tonight, if we can snap a quick picture.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
we'll set up the picture here. The way it's set up now, the oldest stuff is first, you have to scroll through it. So that's why I first started the toggle, but now that I've reordered it, so the newest stuff is first, then we don't have to
Then
toggle
you can
it.
just be streaming.
Got it.
Exactly. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Michelle. I was solving a problem I didn't have anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other comments on the webpage? We're ordering through.
I would like, besides the graphic, which is the call-out box, I would like something besides text on the first page.
Yeah, photo.
A picture
Graphic,
should probably be
picture,
there.
something.
Yeah. The new picture gonna go on that?
So what,
First page?
so what you can do, going back to the mobile sort of presentation, is if you, put a picture in between each one of the texts, something that's pretty, people will keep scrolling through it. And then it will show up, you know, also as a caption on your, webpage.
We're getting a collection of photos now, so I'll bring photos or email photos to the meeting we're having tomorrow, so that we have sunset pictures and Burnham Park pictures and people on a hike pictures and all the pictures that we use in the guide we can intersperse on there. Good. Getting close to the end. We're nearly on time, too. The work plan for this year, at the last meeting, we put words together for work plan at the board's meeting.
Oops. That's good.
In February, they reviewed them. Yeah, if you can pass that out. I've got one, but. I have one. I just wanted to review, they just made a couple changes. And I wanted to float the idea of, since our meetings are, we just set 4 meetings this year and farther apart, there are some of these things that can progress a little bit or develop a little bit between meetings if we create sub-teams for them, like we have for the communications. And maybe just from wherever your interest flows, as we go through them, you can give a shout, and that way we could delegate and keep some things moving a little bit between meetings without meeting so often. As long as there are 3 or less people in a sub-team, it's not a quorum, and we don't have to have it in public.
Yeah, that's really important. So, as a public organization, we have to abide by the Brown Act, which is a state law. I don't know, are you familiar with that? Okay, so I don't have to tell you. But the way it's interpreted is, as long as we have 3 or fewer people, PAC members, we are not in violation. We can have as a subcommittee, and it would be tasked with certain things.
Okay, I'm just gonna, I'll run through them quickly, the comments from the meetings. For Burnham Park, they haven't progressed the planning. They're waiting for the timing on when the new storage tanks for the sewer go in.
Where are you, what are you?
Okay, I'm on number 6, which is the work plan. And so the first item is
First item,
supporting efforts for Burnham Park.
this page.
It does say support
Well, that's
efforts to
where I
plan
was.
for Burnham Park while the project planning is on hold. It probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But the thing that
Oh,
they,
okay, yeah, work plan.
the thing that they'd like us to think about, and I'll table for the August meeting for us to talk through, is learning what we've learned from Burnham and Balboa and our meetings. What would we do to improve and make more robust our public outreach? One of the things that is still on my back burner is, we had agreed maybe in October or November, that Delia and I would explore survey capabilities, or a way to do survey, to just do a recheck with the broader community on priorities. Each of the outreach events we've had have had 70 to 85 responses. I don't know if those who heard the Quarry Park meetings, they typically had somewhere between 70 and 85 people there. But the survey that was done in 2015 had over 600 responses. And so if we could think about maybe later this year sending a postcard with a Q code that links to an online survey that gets more granular on, if you'd like, improvement on the medians, what kinds of improvements would you like on the medians, and give people something to select from. if you're interested in having a park on the Burnham Strip, what types of amenities? So we got some feedback that helped us form a little bit of a list, but do a broader intake on those, rather than relying simply on face-to-face, and in-person meetings. And it allows us to put something in front of people. You know, if it looked like this, would you yell at us?
And I wonder if there's like some kind of like plan we could put in place where there's like an end to the feedback, because I feel like we'll get caught in this perpetual and never get anything done, which I feel like we're kind of there now. We've gotten a lot of feedback and we're still talking about more feedback, which may be another round or two, but at some point, like, I don't know how the best way to do that, but then let the community know there will be a point where we will move forward with something.
Members of the board say
everybody.
robust community feedback. I
Yeah.
think we could probably have a good discussion where we define what we think is robust
Mhm.
enough.
That's a good point. And then take that.
Part of the problem is we have a media and generational gap with information. And the people who are under 45 don't generally have time to come to meetings. They don't have time because they're struggling so hard with the economy, just to, people working 2 jobs and stuff like that. And so that's why I'm working on the internet and Facebook and Instagram and Facebook, Nextdoor, those types of things. It's just, you have to be out there on almost every
Yeah.
platform to reach. I mean,
You
I'm not
fit
on,
in-
I'm
you
not
fit
on
in when
Twitter
they have
yet, but I
time.
have to go there because the under 35s have gone back to Twitter again. And they've gone from Snapchat to Facebook to Twitter. Who would have thought? But so there's a constant movement all the time, and as a marketing person, you have to reach everybody on their platform.
And
That's
in the time that it is reasonable for them.
I mean, Sam found me on Facebook because I said, "What the poop?" She goes, "Oh, that's a good promo." But that's the hard thing, is how do you promote to people who are on, Facebook, that lower age group? Because we're not seeing them in these meetings.
And that would be an advantage of the survey, is that you
Yes.
split it out by age group, and just like, I did the analysis on the previous survey. What a 16 to 24-year-old adult is interested in is about day and night different, as was mentioned by our guest here earlier. It's totally different than someone who's 55 to 65. And we have an overrepresentation of 55 to 70 at public meetings.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And they tend to dominate
Yes.
the discussion, and, that's leaving out the younger elements of the community that you're talking about. So,
Well said.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
The online survey tools, I know quite a bit about. Some of them, I've used them for polling large companies and things of that nature in the past. When you scan the QR code, it sends you to a website. You register at that point with your information. Is there some way to anonymously, you're going to get their address and you're going to possibly have this map here behind you and have representation of who chimed in, like, so you can address the crowd that is present, the more senior people. Hey, this much of your district right behind you on this nice colorful chart has chimed in,
well, we
has
have,
been surveyed.
we have that data.
You have that data, but how do you present that to them? Because they're really vocal.
Well, it's difficult.
I know it is.
Because, you get about 2 paragraphs at the most, and if they read that.
Right.
So, they see what they want to see.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have to be as objective. And I felt pretty good about, what we've done so far.
Last
It's
survey was good.
data-driven and not so much, nonchalant. But I do professional surveys that's what I do primarily, is survey work for park agencies. And I've done it for all the park agencies in this area already. I'd be happy to work on something like this. But, you may not get what you hope.
Well, and actually, I don't, this is, so from my employee survey days, I don't have an ambition for getting what I want to get. I want to get what they want to tell me. And so it might not be the answers I want to hear, but it's actually what the community wants to say. And so that really is why I'd want to go broadly to the community. I looked at the demographics of our community. I had, because I was running for office, I got the voter rolls, and it gives you their birth dates. which I thought was pretty personal information, but because I had it and I could map it over, and it was GCSD, I could do the demographics for the adults from those dates. And then I went to the school's data to fill in the little kids. So out of our 6,000 people, about 43% are over 55. But there are about 1,000 children between 0 and 18. About 25% are between 25 and 45. And so that's 1,500 people. So, roughly, half our community are of the age of being parents of younger children, and children still at home. And they are the ones whose voices get left out of a lot of what we do.
Yeah, they don't come here because they're taking care of their kids and
Yeah.
everything else.
Or they're
and
at
come
school
more.
meetings or
Yeah.
sports or
Yeah.
So it's
everything
gonna
else.
take a concerted, one of the things they're doing right now politically is they're doing redistricting in Half Moon Bay. And the irony is that we're so mixed up geographically that you can't district a Latino community or a white community except for Ocean Colony. They're the largest community that's in a single demographic. But other than that, we're all really mixed up.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you where we're not mixed up, and that's age. If I just met with a guy who's in charge of voting for San Mateo County, and I said, how come we don't redistrict for age? And he was like, this guy had a PhD, he's in charge of voting for San Mateo County, and he hadn't thought of that, and he was like, we should have a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old on all of our council meetings.
Yeah.
And then you would get some opinions.
Yeah.
Because on my bicycle pedestrian advisory committee, I've got this high school kid, and he pipes up every once in a while. It's like, whoa, didn't think of that. So it's really important to get that young.
Interesting. It's an
Pat?
interesting thought for this advisory committee to the advisory committee. Nobody over 18 on it.
Teen advisory committee.
So the survey that had 600 respondents, was that online?
That,
It
Or how
was
is that
both.
it was both.
Okay,
It was online, and you could request a mail survey.
yeah.
It was primarily mail-in though, there were
Mhm.
very few online.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I counted
Because the
numbers.
survey was mailed to every
Yeah,
household,
yeah.
so why go online?
Yeah,
So
but then I
millennials
guess
don't
that
look
was
at their
kind
mail.
of a good way to confirm that you were not getting repeat, 'cause
You-
they got the survey, they filled out and mailed it back.
Yeah, it's
I guess you
in
make
the
copies, but,
in the registration online, you can do things like only one response per email address,
yeah, Or-
and things
yeah.
like that. Because I was thinking of only sending a card and they have to go online. Now, that might actually skew our respondents to younger people.
Yes, it would.
Well, there
So
are
we can
statistical
think about
ways to do all that through weighting and other things. So usually
I
what
see
you do is
advertisement
you
next door,
present the
though.
results as they came. And they may not, the demographics of the respondents may not represent the demographics of the community very well. And so statistically, but you present it anyway, and then you can do statistical weighting. You can make a representative to the amount of people in the community that have those characteristics. And many times it comes out very different.
but
So
I'm sorry, when the results of the original survey that you did, Pat, that seemed to me like what was, from my experience, fairly accurate. There was a good support for, recreational activities and, I think, but it would be good to, I think, try to get, when you're actually looking at a certain project, I think Burnham Strip will really get a lot of excitement. I know we already did an outreach once, but I think there'll be a lot more people interested in that and motivated to,
We got it.
give their 2
It
cents.
had the advantage of being near the post office on a Saturday morning, so people walked over to see what was going on.
Yeah,
But the demographics of respondents were still, well, I take it back. We had a surf and skateboard contingent who hung out for quite a while.
Oh, that's cool.
And I still have Jeff Clark's design for the tunnel under the highway. And then we had, you know, the people who are going for a walk. But I'd like to get both, and I'm not ruling out having, you know, more public events, particularly if we have, you know, bigger drawings or designs for people to look
Maybe
at.
we go to, I know El
The
Granada will
school.
have some public, you know, events, you know, for the school kids, and that might be even a PTA thing.
It's another place to drop
PTO
off the
thing,
survey.
yeah.
Okay, I don't want to work out tonight, but so for this particular part of the work plan, just a look ahead, we'll talk about it more at the August meeting, but I wanted to plant some thinking. There are people who want to work on a little sub-team for improving public outreach.
Sure.
Pat will, I
I
will do
will.
that one, Michelle will, okay. That's enough? Because there are more opportunities upcoming. The next thing on the work plan was the summer guide and promotions, as already discussed. The next thing was managing the webpage and newsletters. The next update for newsletter, if we do what we did last year, would be around September, early October timeframe, following all the summer programs to recap them and any other new news that we have. So when we discuss at the August meeting, we'll look for more authors for that. The next thing is developing the trail and the amenities plan, and this is what Delia just handed out. Just for a quick recap on history, in 1 minute on the median trail and amenities plan, just to bring everybody up to date, and Pat and Paul, who've been here for the duration, can correct me if I don't get this all right. But in the beginning, when the Parks Committee was formed and looked at, or Parks and Rec Committee, where can we do parks? And it was when they mapped the medians, first looked at the Burnham Strip, a little not very useful piece of land on Capistrano. San Mateo County Parks at the time was contracted to support the committee. They built, generated some ideas for what they might be able to do on the medians. They've got Miss Dale's original drawings of what you could do on the Balboa Circle. And San Mateo County Parks developed an RFP for an overall median trails and amenities plan, including all of the active and passive recreation. They put it out to bid. A subcommittee of the PAC looked at 3 proposals and preferred the Gates proposal out of those 3. And then it went on hold as the communications with the county went on for quite a long time about whether you could do anything on the medians, whether they were an easement or a public place. As you guys all know, GCSD legal opinion is they were designed as a public place and transferred to the county as a public place. The county argues that they are part of the right-of-way and easement. And as we learned in the Balboa feedback, the people who live along the medians have been told that they own the land underneath the right-of-way and easement all the way to the center of the medians, and they're then concerned about their liability. Our use permit says that we assume liability for any place where we make an improvement, but there was enough pushback that was essentially the board discussion that put playground on a median on a back burner. Even though some of those who were virulently opposed to a playground on safety and noise and other considerations were not so opposed to trails, plants, pollinator plants, landscaping, taking care of the trees, tables and benches. And so what to jump a little bit ahead in history, actually, let me go back to the history before we got to Balboa. After the negotiation a year ago or so, this committee in March and April pulled back out that RFP, said, okay, good, now we can go forward, we have a use permit, but elected to split out a proposal for a playground on medians 7 and 8, just to have something that moved more quickly than waiting for a whole plan to be done, so that we could at least have a demonstration project and respond to that energy for more small playgrounds. And at the same time, we wrote a separate RFP for then the whole rest of the median plan, and we put that on a back burner. When we first went to the board with the playground RFP, they said, our staff, I think it was, the general manager said, we already have Capucci and Kenkel working on something for Burnham Park, rather than go out to RFP, why don't we just extend a contract and have them drop something for the playground? So taking that cue, we went back to the list for the RFP we'd written for the whole plan and said, well, let's just put it in a task list like we did for the playground. So that's where this list of 12 things came from. It's from PAC meeting last June. So we resurrected it when it is on our work plan, put it back to the board because they had never seen it, and said, okay, then how does this task list look to you? They have set aside 9 through 12, which is basically anything that isn't trails, landscaping, and seating. And said, we'd still like an overall plan just for kind of that original concept of trails to walk through. They have not, and one of the reasons why it goes from each to all is, I think it was Matthew Clark said, but don't have it broken up so you would go through permitting median by median, because that will take 50 years. If we're going to do something, I'd want to get it permitted all at once, and then we can do the work a little bit at a time, but, so do something for, a plan for everything, not piece by piece.
Matthew's already been waiting for 45 years, so.
Yeah, it's for his median to be improved. So the question that they then asked of me, I think this was at the February meeting, is this something PAC would do? And I said, no. This is something actually that Gates offered to do for a 6-figure contract. So this is the task list. What PAC would do is work with a vendor that you outsource this to consult on what what we've heard from the community, and to help with public outreach, but help, not do. So where this sits then is that it really is with the board to decide if they're going to prioritize it, to go look for a vendor and fund it. And from an offline conversation I had with Director Dye, I think it's going to be, they have to discuss, do we want to prioritize and run with Burnham Park, or do we want to prioritize and run with this? My vote was, why don't we just get a plan going? It's largely out of our hands while somebody works on it. And you can do Burnham, with more hands-on in parallel if that's what you want to do. But it's going to take, a year to do this. So the longer you wait, the longer it will take. But that's kind of where we are, is it's really in the board's hand to say, okay, staff, somebody, go out and find a vendor, or use the vendor that we've already been using, and get this started and get a bid, and then decide if they're going to fund it. Any questions?
That's a good summary. Well done.
I might have skipped a thing or two. I wrote it all down this afternoon. So that's where we are. So we don't really have an action to do on that, but whatever we do in August talking about how to do outreach better will inform this plan as well.
Yeah, just a quick comment. The median's master plan is fraught with controversy, and what we've seen, the proposal that we made at Brio Circle was immediately rejected by neighbors.
Yeah, that was before my
The
time.
playground at Balboa Circle, or near Balboa Circle, was certainly controversial, even though the majority of the neighbors supported it. And so and the district did not feel that the Balboa situation was right to move forward. That's their vote. But I don't see a better place to put anything of significance in any of the meetings.
I think wasn't that, and it was before my time on PAC, but the view was the best places to consider for active amenities were the Balboa Circle, median 7, and maybe median 11, the Portola median.
So I'll just stop by saying I'm not supportive of the trail master plan if it delays anything that is actually going to take some. So Burnham Park is farther along, and that should be the priority, because it would lead to something tangible in the near term
The district owns the
This
land, yeah.
master plan is at least 2 years just to get the plan done. And then we might have a few things sprout off from that. There may be some historic signs, there may be trails, but we have to, we have to think about, the trade-offs here. Should we have a community, should we put our money into a community center, which has a widest of all the support that I've seen of the facility, where, and it's gonna be expensive, it's gonna take years, or should we put our time and effort, district effort, into a medium master plan, which, what is the long-term payback on this? I don't see it. It's just my opinion. I would rather put effort into planning a community center, going in that direction, something that's gonna lead to a tangible, actionable item.
I don't disagree. I think the medians are, well, first of all, I think it's fake news, is that the people think that there's a liability issue, and I work with the city of Half Moon Bay, and they're having a conversation about Poplar. You know, it's hard for people to walk down there, so what they did was, they cut the horses off from Poplar. They put up a fence, the horses can't go down there, and they graded it, but they didn't admit any responsibility other, and there's a little bit of a fence that stops you from going out on the bluffs, but they're not assuming any responsibility, because they know as soon as they like make it ADA or whatever it is, they're open for liability. So when it comes to the strip, as soon as we assume responsibility for the liability, the homeowners are done. That's a fact. I have a land use background. That's just, and everything that the homeowners are saying is just complete BS. It's just fake news. It's not true. They're not gonna have any liability whatsoever. Once a agency takes responsibility for land,
Yeah.
they got the deep pockets.
Our
Sounded
median
hysterical
use
to me.
permit says we're liable where we make improvements.
Having said that, its perception is 9/10 of the law, so forget the medians. I agree with Patrick. Go to Burnham, that's where the big money is, that's where the big play will be. If we can
District
get-
owns the land.
And if we can gain the public's confidence, then perhaps we can go back and look at the medians. Right now, it's a great dog walking area.
Is there any sort of half measure with the medians? I mean, the homeowners have seen it just abandoned, and they assume it's theirs. Is there any way to establish our presence as the owners without actually doing improvements, substantial improvements, such as just maintenance, so they get accustomed to the idea that this is no longer theirs and it is being maintained by another agency without capital investment and things of that nature, to ease them into the idea. And as time goes on, once we have a plan, they may become accustomed to the fact that we exist, we own this property, we're gonna do something.
Well, we don't own it.
But not own it, but
Yeah.
have a permit to use it.
We have a permit to use it, and we would be liable anywhere where we make an improvement. So if we put a trail down the middle, we're liable for the trail.
Somebody
Right.
trips,
And,
we fall.
you know, the trees that overhang it,
Tree trimming.
Right.
but not all the rest of it, unless we take over a whole median.
So who is responsible for, fire prevention and vegetation right now?
Department of
Cal
Public
Fire.
Works.
Cal
Yeah.
Fire.
Cal Fire, and actually, all those medians should be chopped down as a fire break.
That chance of that.
The county, is it DPW, trims the trees that are hanging over the road, or
Yeah.
that fall in the road. They are the ones who mow it, because they do
Right.
mow the medians. So it's really, county shows that they have responsibility for them.
Very,
Because
very,
they take
yeah.
responsibility to do the minimum
Yeah, they just do
to
the minimum.
reduce their liability in the fire hazard.
Okay, like I was saying, is there any sort of half measure we could do that would just present
Like fix the
our
picnic,
presence?
fix the picnic tables would be a good one.
Yeah, picnic tables would be a
But those
start.
encourage partying.
Those encourage partying, exactly.
Only a
It's
couple,
like, I never thought that was a bad.
only a couple people.
Well, like block parties?
Yeah, exactly.
Organized
I like
block parties.
that.
People
I like
hanging
your
out.
I mean,
spin.
I've lived in
Exactly.
other
Having a good
neighborhoods where
time.
we shut down streets, you know, we had permission and we'd shut down the streets and all the neighbors.
I
would
think
have
there was a
block
couple of years where there, you know, my son's 20, there was a couple of years of really heavy partying, high school years, and it comes in years, it has to do with the parents.
And so there were, the neighbors were, they had to deal with a bunch of teenagers who were partying.
Hanging out at the
At
table.
the medians?
At the
At the
medians,
Balboa?
yeah, I
God
mean,
forbid.
It just doesn't seem like it's just so open. I mean, it wouldn't
Yeah.
be any kind of, I mean,
it wouldn't be where I would hang
Any
out.
kind-
I
yeah.
hear ya.
Well, when I
hear ya.
Total
cleaned up the
bust.
medians.
But again, this was the turnout that
Until
we
you
had
get two
with just
places, we found bottles.
just a handful of neighbors that were able with, again, they're retired and they're here, and they're making the noise, and we hear it, and we have to respond to that, but it's not, it's not what the, I don't believe that's not what the real.
Doesn't represent.
No,
the- yeah,
not at all.
right.
As first projects, and I'm kind of watching both the time and the recording, as first projects, we wouldn't be pushing through an open door, where on Burnham, I think we're pushing
Yeah,
through an
yeah,
open
yeah.
door.
Exactly.
Start there. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
I would suggest, that we're at a point where, we're an advisory committee. I would advise that the committee makes a motion that says, we recommend that the Trails Master Plan should be secondary to working on Burnham Park, and make it real, make that really clear. And the only way that we move forward as a group in an official context is by other people. Otherwise, it's just in the meeting minutes, it doesn't necessarily get anywhere.
Except
get
the
anybody's attention.
Parks report of the board.
We do, but it isn't as strong as a motion.
That goes in the minutes, yep.
So, I don't want to be the only one speaking out about this, but I would suggest that if someone wants to make a motion along the lines of, we recommend that the Comedian's Trail Master Plan be placed as a secondary action item by the district and move forward with the primary on Burnham Park.
I second.
I think, yeah, let me frame it, because I know they're starting to talk about the financials, and it was nice that they actually talked about the priority list that we send them, because this is the first time they really talked about it and
Yeah.
did something with it,
Mhm.
rather than just say, oh, it looks okay. They're now starting to talk seriously about financials. So if I can, work on, with you on that motion a bit, we could
Mhm.
move that, in terms of funding, the board prioritizes Burnham Park and Community Center, for significant funding, and, puts, and tables the median park plan.
I agree.
The current
I
time.
think that's succinct.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the board said.
Except they left it on our
Yeah, they put it there.
to-do list.
They put it there.
Well, yeah, they suggested that, and then, so now we decide, or we go along. I don't know that
So-
we can say, no, we want to do it this way.
PAC advises that board focus funding on Burnham and Community Center, and
Defers
and
funding.
defer is the good word, defer
Defers funding.
investment in a trails plan.
First funding on that Trails Master, Median Trails Master Plan.
And I am wondering whether we do need another survey. It's been planned so many years. I don't know. Was that something they required too?
No.
No,
Well,
They
why
asked
don't we
what they-
think about that?
but let's do think about it. Well, and in August, we'll talk about it. What they asked us to talk about was how to do a better job of public outreach. So it was in that context that we were talking about the survey.
I think there's more public input to be had for Burnham, for sure,
Yeah.
a lot more.
Yeah.
What did
Yeah.
you say about the tanks, the storage tanks? I'm sorry.
They, it's been slow. Sam has been working on getting their permits. They're adding a second $200,000 gallon storage tank, under what is the Burnham land. There's one there now, and they're adding a second one, which was part of the
There's actually 4 tanks.
4.
What do they store? What's?
It's, when there's a lot of rain, it's a place that the pipes can back up to, so they don't back up out. And it also enables Sam to shut down at times to do maintenance and let things back up and be stored and without overflowing the sewers.
It's for the overflow of rainwater.
Yeah. Add a lot of.
Okay, so we have a motion. The
So-
PAC advises the board to focus funding on Burnham Park and Community Center and defer investment on Median Trails Plan. Is that a reasonable?
Yes,
That's
I would
Pat's
second, I
motion.
would second that, or that's your motion.
What was the last part?
No, it's yours.
And defer investment on the Median Trails Plan.
I'll second it.
And Fran
So who's
second.
gonna,
I'll move it.
oh,
Um,
you're gonna move it.
You seconded, or Pat moved it and Michelle
Yeah, Pat
seconded.
suggested it. Okay.
I'll do Pat and Michelle, they had it first, I'll just change the words. I mean,
And
wordsmiths.
And I'm thinking, they are gonna, did they say when they're gonna start that? The tanks
I don't know.
digging?
I don't
They don't know yet.
Yeah,
This
How long does
year?
that take?
it's
Is it gonna
Sam's
be this-
permit.
6
they,
months.
I don't know what the whole is.
Because I was gonna say, maybe, oh, well, I don't know how soon we can get another survey done. But I was thinking, wherever the new tanks are going the north end of the Burnham Strip, right? What we have.
I think they're going right along in that road, which means they would be carrying that way instead of that way, but I'm not sure.
Well,
I don't
whichever
think-
way, if we have a chance to develop a part of it that isn't, I think we ought to start like a little bit at a time and
You can
start
certainly be doing,
planning something. I mean, doing something.
certainly doing a plan that
The
you can
Imping
stage.
The
Yeah.
Imping property right up against Picasso, there's nothing going in there sewage wise, so that's where I was gonna put a pump track. Just saying. I know there's one, they're talking about Granada, but it's a great, a spot for a pump track or for a skate snake run, because it's got gravity. Like in Santa Cruz, they've got this great snake run, it's just it's sort of a bowl at the top, and then it's just like a flume, and then there's a bowl at the bottom where everybody like spins out. It's a family, scooters.
A skate,
I think
doing,
spots for scooters, I mean, that's real popular now.
It's a snake run.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
Yeah.
send you guys a link to what they have in Santa Cruz. It's like 35 years old.
within the board within the response, the board's response to the Burnham community outreach was, they plugged in there, look at developing basically a subterranean skate park, where you go down, so you're not blocking the
Yes,
view corridor.
that's cool.
But it's a big skate community, and look at supporting that
Yep.
community, so that did make it into the plan.
Good.
My
Excellent.
sense is that this is really a unique opportunity. I think the tank going in and delaying things, this is when we got a year and a half of planning, at least, on Burnham Strip before anything could ever be approved. And this gives us an opportunity, we should be jumping on this and saying, hey, let's do the outreach, let's do the community meetings, let's get the plans out
Yeah.
there, let's have
There's no
public
reason to
comment.
wait.
We saw in Balboa, it's gonna take months and months to get public feedback and meetings set up. So I think we need a full comprehensive plan of Balboa Park, or not Balboa, Burnham Park. And then we could build pieces or parts of it, but it
Yeah,
needs a full
you can always
plan.
stage the building.
Yeah.
So we have the motion, are we ready to vote?
Mhm.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Was that 5?
Aye.
Michelle?
Oh, yes.
Fran, did I get it?
Aye.
Okay, so 7, sorry. 7-0. Okay. Just the last two quickly, because they'll come up last. Working with CUSD to improve the existing active rec facilities at EG Elementary is an idea that came up after the Burnham outreach. Because at the Burnham outreach, there was some significant interest in basketball courts. The board thought basketball courts would be very expensive to put in there and cover a lot of ground, and they would require fencing, which could get in the way of the view. Where that discussion went was, well, the basketball courts that are at
El Granada.
are at El Granada Elementary and the one at Coral Reef are not in great shape. Could we
It's
invest some money?
extremely limited use too during the school year. There's after-school programs, it's very limited on the school district is when you can use it.
When
Can't
you
use
can
it
do that.
after school?
Nope, they have after-school programs till 7 o'clock at night and you cannot be there.
So it's only
Really?
weekends.
The
Correct.
basketball?
Yep, that is in their playground. After school, I can't come back with my kids and play.
Wow. I
So
didn't realize
yeah,
that.
There you go.
So you
I
can't
can't
do-
use, that as a park during the school year.
Why can't we change that policy?
Yeah.
Because there are school children out there that just have one teacher, and so random inrushes
It's
of
like
guests on the
after-school
property.
care?
School district property,
Safety.
yeah, you have to check in, you have to be a registered guest while there are students there.
So
And there
there
are
should
still
be,
students.
so they should organize a check-in opportunity.
And it's
where-
after office hours, there's no one in the office to check people
Yeah,
in.
that's a solvable problem.
And it's not gonna happen though, you're not gonna
Yeah.
get, you're not gonna get,
School's not gonna
the
work.
school is not gonna
Yeah.
budge on this policy.
Yeah, they can't
I mean-
risk having people they don't know coming in with
Exactly,
school kids.
exactly, it's a limited
If
staff.
I was a parent, I would not be happy with that at all.
Yeah, you're not gonna have strangers on school grounds.
You're not a
They-
stranger, you're a resident, and you
You
have kids
are.
in this school.
I can't even go back because my kid's not part of that program. And there's
They
kids still
do
using the
after-school
playground.
daycare.
I have 2 teaching credentials, I just don't think
I
it's right,
understand.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. They don't allow a parent of a student who's at that school to use the basketball. To me, that's a policy that can be changed. You can't, so we're gonna be environmentally unsound, and we're gonna put asphalt down on land in, I don't know, on Burnham Strip or on medians or whatever it is to build a basketball court when we have already, created, non-permeable land on a school ground, which we are paying taxes for.
I was gonna
And
say.
now we're not allowed to use what we're paying our taxes for because of a school policy?
It's not at all, and my daughter's a teacher in San Jose, it's not at all unusual, and, it's
Yeah.
because of the
If I was a
lockdowns.
parent, I would want that
Don't
policy
care.
in place.
It's because of the
There's
lockdowns.
parents
We're
that can
Americans and we
have
deserve to
the
be
opposite.
free. We
We
deserve
won't
to
solve
use,
that here tonight.
we deserve to
should-
use the
Yeah.
stuff that we pay our taxes for. We
Can it
can
be-
make it safe.
Can
It's
it be
just
used on
imagination.
weekends?
What? Weekends you can use it. Yeah, weekends are fine.
The action item there was for me to reach out to,
Yeah.
the principal, maybe the PTO, to say, if the community could use, active recreation, and you could use help, because we understand that the EG school and Farallone don't get much of the CUSD funding. What the offer was from GCSD was to provide some funding to improve the facilities there, not necessarily the playground.
Well, I think it was also for like
But for
soccer
the bigger
fields,
kids,
because I
yeah, for the
mean,
bigger
AYSO
kids.
plays there, it's,
Yeah.
was, and
Something.
I don't know what else actually,
Does
do
Iowa
they do
There's some T-ball stuff
Little League maybe?
periodically, most of that's moved.
Yeah.
So
Something.
I will do that before the next meeting. Can I reach out to you, because you know how the whole system works?
Well, in light of your last motion to focus funding on the North Park, I don't know, that would
Yeah.
have a little bit
Yeah,
of a
this
conflict.
was
Yeah.
like a little bit of
Just
money.
thought I'd mention that.
It's like, the pump track,
It won't distract Burnham.
we don't have any update from San Mateo County Parks on their plan, other than hearing rumors that they thought they might be going to the Board of Supervisors in June, was the last rumor that I heard. Parks Commission in May, Board of Supervisors in June.
You could maybe
It just keeps getting moved down by 6 months.
make a recommendation to the board to do a resolution to commit funding for.
But they already sent a letter saying that they
You
wouldn't
know,
commit funds.
they would like,
Sufficient.
they would like, wasn't there talk of a meeting with Chuck? I think that was,
Yeah, Chuck just wanted to know what they wanted from us to help them out financially.
because I think there's a little bit of like I don't know what you call it, a standoff, or just like, well, they said they would have a meeting with us, and that hasn't happened. So I don't know, but if you're saying there's no need for a meeting, I mean, there's like no,
There was no
no
instruction from the board
dialogue
to
at
be
all.
involved in the planning of it, and I think our general manager was looking at it in terms of, well, we're offering funds, but I don't know what there is to discuss beyond that, because we're not gonna be involved, it's still a county project, so.
There was also
that's
energy
my-
from PAC to help organize volunteers to build it as well.
There's a ton of volunteers.
Yeah, I think
We could-
it's
if we
still,
got the
it
dirt
still
there, we
kind
could
of
build
goes
it.
back to there being this sort of like, the San Mateo County Parks
got
waiting
tools.
for GCSD to set up some meeting to like do more and I don't know, maybe talk about,
So GCSD
Public
sent a
planning,
letter
I'm not-
offering to provide financial support.
Yeah,
And I
wrote-
thought what we heard back from that is, when they have a master plan, they'll know
Yeah.
what we can financially
Yeah.
support.
I just don't know if what they're looking for from us, and maybe that just needs to be clarified.
Why don't I can drop a note to Sam. Have you talked to Sam, Paul?
I did, yeah.
And so he
Where does
He was waiting, I think there was some, maybe it was a misunderstanding that there would be a meeting with Chuck, and that hasn't happened, and it's just been kind of like, well, but it is also, it's still in that, I'm not too familiar with their sort of process, but it's, I believe, you know, the Parks and Rec board maybe, or is
Commission? Yeah.
commission, I guess, is looking at it right now, and it's still the proposed master plan. But then, you know, and then next they would have to look at which form of the environmental, what is it, like a EIR or a neg deck or something? What way they would go that way, and then that would dictate how much study would be required for that. And then, you know, then it would go to the Board of Supervisors.
Are they moving forward?
Well, it's still in like that
They
stage
keep
of
pushing it
waiting.
off.
Yeah, waiting to hear, you know, any like proposal changes or anything from whatever review it's being reviewed by right now, which I don't really. I was driving, so I couldn't write, take notes.
I think it was going to
Something's happening.
Parks
Yeah.
Commission, and then Environmental Review, and then Board of Supervisors.
Yeah,
PAC,
yeah.
Is a pump track included in the plan?
Well,
That's what I wanna ask.
that was
Master
in that,
plan?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's proposed master
The
plan,
proposed master plan, I mean,
but that was under their pretext of saying that, well, you know, there's no guarantee that anything of this is gonna be built. So I think the meeting with, and communicating with GCSD would be you know, to work towards that.
Oh, to
upon-
getting the full commitment so that they can build.
Yeah, so it would
Everything in the
be,
master
it would be
plan-
something that has a lot of local support, and it would be, you know, maybe
Each thing they have-
prioritized that way,
Each thing
you
they have to
know?
get funding for. I think
Once it
one thing
gets
they
in the
have
plan-
funding for is the pump track.
Yeah,
And I'm going to call Sam and also,
Yeah.
Nicholas over there in
so
the Parks Department.
the
and-
county's really busy right now with Quarry Park with the state of emergency that they just put in place. Newsom just signed, and they're forgoing all the environmental reviews and
We're gonna cut
CAL
down.
FIRE.
For the,
We're gonna hear a lot about
trees,
that from the
yeah.
neighbors.
Yeah,
I mean, there's,
CAL FIRE is gonna take it, if
She
they're number
overlooks Quarry Park
16 on
and
the
I
load
love
list
the hill
in the
park.
state of
I'm all for
California.
getting rid of
What
those
is-
trees though.
Floyd Park, or,
Quarry,
Yep.
or just
El
El
Granada.
Granada?
Yeah.
El Granada is number 16
Yeah.
out of all of
It's
California for the load
dangerous.
list. And it's like I said, you guys need a fire break.
It's
And-
a 250
and
acre
CAL FIRE is
quarry
gonna
park
come in
fire
and
break.
they're gonna chop stuff down,
Yeah.
and nobody's gonna stop them. And if
No.
anybody does, they're out of their mind.
Yeah.
my neighbor's tree down?
A lot of the
You know,
perimeter,
you know,
yeah.
in
There's a
terms-
whole
in terms
plan
of the-
posted
My
on.
We need,
neighbor would be all for it.
you need a fire break between,
Yeah.
the lower El Granada and the Highlands,
yes,
because if you don't have that fire break, it's just gonna.
So where do you
Okay.
suggest?
that's not.
Delia,
top topic.
did I
Yeah,
hear you
sorry,
say
sorry to throw that out there.
that you would call Sam?
Yeah, I'll pick
Okay.
up the phone, I'm wanting to do that.
Okay. I think he's looking for maybe a more succinct
I'll-
commitment that if it's in the plan, we will build
I'll give
it.
him a call and I will email the PAC and let you know.
Okay. Because in addition to the funding, PAC, there are folks on PAC who have volunteered
Yeah, I
to
know.
help with finding volunteers. Okay, so we'll table that until the next time. Our next meeting is set for Tuesday, August 6th. Just checking that that is on folks' calendars.
Check your
We-
calendar.
I've got
August 6th.
August 6th, which is also a Tuesday, first Tuesday in August. Check, and the agenda items include a check step on summer programs, the plan for a fall e-newsletter. We will have our significant discussion will be on our approach to outreach. Could be both in person and not in person, potentially inclusive of survey. And then we'll update on EG Elementary, maybe have an update on Quarry Park. And we'll see, we'll have board feedback on our motion to prioritize Brennan Park and table the medium plan.
And if need be, you can always, call a special meeting too.
I think folks are so involved in getting the summer programs done that I was trying to avoid getting a meeting in the summertime. Okay, well, thank you for good discussion. Thanks, everybody, for all that you put into the summer program, and
Bang on that guy.
Do the gavel.
we're done.
Well done, Nancy.
Picture, need a photo with Nancy.
Oh, picture.
Oh, picture.
Picture.
Can we